All right, our next step is to work on changing sentences from the passive voice to the active voice. We're going to be rewriting sentences. So re again is that prefix that means to do again. Okay, so when you're rewriting, you're writing them again, and hopefully in this case, you're improving them and making them more active. So by the end of this little lesson, you will be able to change sentences from the passive voice to the active voice. I don't anticipate this being a huge challenge. However, I want to make sure everybody's on the same page, so we're just going to have this little introduction. You will need a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, okay, just to write down some sentences and give it a try before you have to do it for points. So let's do a few examples first. The mail was delivered by a different carrier than usual. So we know from the previous lesson that because it says was delivered, and then because the action is actually being done by somebody in the predicate, we know this is a passive sentence. Okay, so let's think about how could I change this into the active voice? I want to move this a different carrier than usual that's currently in the predicate. I need to move that into the subject and make it actually do something. So I would change this around and probably write this as a different carrier than usual delivered the mail. So we can see all the same pieces are there. All right, a different carrier than usual is still the person, place, or thing doing the action. Okay, I've just moved them to the beginning of the sentence, to the subject. All right, they're still doing something to the same thing. The mail is still having something done to it, but now it's in the predicate, which is kind of sort of where it belongs. And the verb is still exactly the same. It's delivered. Okay, but instead of was delivered by, we've got just plain delivered. So you can see we've moved the thing doing the action into the subject and made it an actual, like it's something that's doing the action. Okay, let's look at another one. I was given an amazing birthday present by my parents. Okay, so look at this and just think in your head, what might I do to this? The person, place, or thing actually doing the action is my parents, so I want them in the subject. How can I do that? My parents gave me an amazing birthday present. So this has all the same elements. Again, my parents are still doing the action. They're still doing the giving. All right. And they're still doing the same action. They're still giving. Okay. But it changes from was given to gave because it's in the past tense. Okay. Because was given happened in the past, gave happened in the past. All right. They're still doing it to the same person, but we had to change it from I to me because it moved from the subject to the predicate. And then the birthday present, they're still doing the same. All right. The last example we're going to do deals with what happens when you don't know who's doing the action. Okay, we've got this, the jewels were stolen. Okay, we don't know who did the stealing, right? We have no clue. So this is where you have to get creative and inventive and sometimes just use common sense. Okay? We might say someone stole the jewels. All right? Someone takes the place of this like non-existent actor in this first sentence. Okay, I could have said, you know, the thief stole the jewels, or a thief stole the jewels, or a mysterious person stole the jewels, but we don't know. So I just chose someone, but you can get more creative if you want. We don't know by whom, but they still stole the jewels. All right, what we're going to do now is I'm going to put up 5 sentences. So I want you to number 1 through 5. And then you are going to write them and you're going to change them into the active voice. So after I put them up here, I'm going to give you a countdown from 5 for you to pause so that you can do the work. And then when you've finished doing that, then you will press play again and we'll check them. Okay? So, first sentence, the science book was destroyed by the fire. The squirrel was almost run over by the car. The documents were signed by the new owners. The late electricity bill was paid by our parents, and my locker was broken into. So I'm going to count down. I want you to pause. You are going to write each of these sentences in the passive voice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you're ready to move on. So I'm going to give you the answers that I came up with. Okay, there's room for sort of interpretation on some of these, and there are sometimes multiple correct ways to write things, but you should be pretty certain that you've written a complete and correct sentence. Here we go. So for number 1, I said, instead of the science book was destroyed by the fire, I said, the fire destroyed the science book. Fire is still doing the action. It's still destroying. Destroying what? The science book. All right, the squirrel was almost run over by the car. What's actually doing the action? The car is. And it's almost running over the squirrel. So I said, the car almost ran over the squirrel. Because this is was is in the past, ran is in the past. The documents were signed by the new owners. Okay, new owners should be now turned into the subject, and they're signing the documents. So the new owners signed the documents. The late electricity bill was paid by our parents. Okay, the person, place, doing the action is actually our parents, but it's sitting in the predicate, making it passive. So we're going to put it into the subject. Our parents paid the late electricity bill, okay, because paid and was paid are both in the past. And then my locker was broken into. This is one of those where we don't know who did the thing, okay? So you could have said a thief or a mysterious human being or someone broke into my locker. So at this point, you should be able to say that I can change sentences from the passive voice to the active voice. If you can't, please, like if those were a challenge or you came up with sentences that were completely different than what I came up with, then come talk to your teacher or teachers and we will help you get on the right track. Otherwise, your next step is to do the active passive voice check number 2. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.